So welcome everyone to this webinar. With today, this topic is going to be how can we use Socratic principles of truth speaking and know thyself as remedies for societal change. And it's a great honor and privilege to welcome Arno Ruskus, who I'm blessed to be part of a men's circle for more than a year with Eric Mutin, who's also here with us, meeting every week, sharing wisdom and challenges and getting advice, supporting us through our transformation. So Arno is Dutch. He lives currently in Colombia, and he has developed a global outlook on life. He's lived in 6 countries and worked in 25. And he uses he encourages purpose-driven conversation and truth speaking. So he brings to life this using the wisdom of Socratic principles of speak your truth and know thyself, as method of deep healing, self-regulation, and authentic reinvention. So Arno is going to lead this webinar. So there'll be a portion of sharing of wisdom, and there'll be a portion of interaction with you. He has questions to ask you, and you have questions to ask him. So Arno, I'd like to invite you to take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Stefan. Can you all hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I see nodding heads. So I guess that means yes. Well, yeah, good afternoon to several of you, and good morning for those who are behind in Eastern time. I guess we're all in Eastern time or later, right? That's, yeah, okay. Looking at the amount of people that we are, I would like to do a little bit of becoming present and grounding. And in this 2D world we are living in today, it's a bit boring, all these Zoom calls, but there is also like some tricks to make it a little bit more entertaining. When you go with your mouse over the pictures of each and every one here, you see a little blue box with 3 white dots coming up, right? So when you click on that, you see 2 options. You see chat and you see pin. You see that?
No, I don't.
You go over
on yourself, on your own picture.
Yeah, or
oh, right. Yes. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Just pick one who is not you. And when you click on pin, that person comes forward. Yes. And the rest becomes like smaller. Can you see that? Yeah. So what I would like us to do is you go to, we just do this for a minute or so. And it will be a bit of a challenging exercise for ego, because you just pick one person and you pin and make eye contact. Now that person will most probably not have picked you, so we will looking at someone else's eyes. Yeah. So let's just do that and just notice what happens in you. Just notice how is it to know that someone of this group here is looking in my eyes, in my face, and I'm actually looking at someone's eyes who is not aware of it. And just notice what happens, you know, just for a couple of seconds, and see what's there in the eyes of the other person. And then you can go back to view on the right top, and you go to gallery and you pick someone else. And it says replace pin. And it's funny to see all of us, like our faces are also changing, you know, you're like this withholding, giggling, like smiles, and like, oh, this is actually fun. Like, you know, I'm staring at this person and he or she is not aware that I'm actually doing it, or whatever the thought comes up. and then you switch to someone else and notice what happens to yourself, you know, what's the change? What does it do to you? In terms of connection with yourself, but also with the other person, eye contact. And on the one hand, it's very safe to do. And on the other hand, it's like also a bit like exploring maybe. And we switch to the last person. And maybe you notice that some thoughts come or images or memories. Okay. All right. Well, welcome back to gallery view. Now, what we're gonna do now is you go to your own picture, your own cam, and then you see 6 options. And I want you to go to the last one that says hide self view. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's like pre-COVID. Like, hey, I'm actually in a meeting room without seeing my own face. And what does this do to you? You know, not like, because we're all the time looking at ourselves in these videos called video conferences, like am I okay? Is it what's in my background? Oh shit, there's something there that people shouldn't see. You know, so that's all of a sudden gone. But what does it do to you? And given that we are 9 of us, I think it's maybe nice to have a little lightning check-in round, just to share what made you decide to come to this webinar and what would you like to take with you in 45 minutes from now. And from there, you pass to someone here you pick. So we should be done in, like, say, 2-3 minutes from now. Who wants to start?
I'll start. I'm Jasper. I'm really interested and take a lot of care about my thoughts. So I'm always attracted to any outside input, outside guidance on how to improve the quality of my ideas and how to communicate them, and as well how to listen more effectively. So I was interested by the title, so I'm very excited to learn. And I will submit Rubens to the next as the next presenter.
I like that. I like that. Thank you, Jasper. To be honest, I don't have any expectation. I just wanted to connect with other like-minded people. I've attended other presentation or webinar organized by Stefan. I enjoyed all of them. And I said, okay, you know, in this COVID era, I try to distance myself from COVID and all the anxiety, stress, negative energy. Unfortunately, some people are experienced with COVID and decided to join, like I said, something will be positive and nourishing for my soul. And as Jasper said, be able to stay in peace with myself and others. So I will pass next to Dominique. She's in.
Thank you. Myself, the same thing. All the seminars I've attended with Stefan were really interesting and always make me think. And I was attracted to, you know, the modern time challenges and reflecting on the wisdom of the ancient times and what the ancients can bring to me, because it brings me like to a safe place. When I read the title, I said, you know, it's going to be a safe place to be. And because I'm in a I've been in a big reflection mode for a long time. I really appreciate, first of all, that we are a small group today, but also it always brings me to further in my thinking process of, my purpose, or where is it, what is it that I really want to do in the future.
Thank you. Who would you pass it to, Dominique?
I'm going to pass it to Elizabeth.
Okay, I've always enjoyed the seminars, the webinars, and I'm on a positive path. The word hate is not in my vocabulary, and I love to grow. And since the new year, I've been reading and reading and reading, catching up. And I think this is going to help me on my way. I run a group, and I always pass on what I have in me to them. And I think this is a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
So I will pass to Jackie.
Great, thank you. So I'm here because of Stefan, because he always picks great speakers, as others mentioned, and my path is a spiritual path, and any kind of wisdom that I can add to it is beautiful. And I really believe that the ancient wisdom is miles ahead of where we are today in terms of our evolution. And so tapping into that ancient wisdom, whether it's through yoga or through whatever type of studies of scriptures, whatever, I just think it's a beautiful path. So no clear expectations today, just open to absorbing the wisdom and how I can integrate it. Thank you.
Welcome. Who would you pass it?
I will pass it to Eric.
Okay. Well, I'm here because I love Arno, and I hang out with him 2 hours a week, and I want to see him do his thing. And I judge he's doing a good job. Yeah, I love Arno. That's why I'm here. And I'll pass it to Frukia.
Okay. Well, I was very much interested in the title. This is my first time that I'm adding a webinar like this, actually, because I had a very difficult year last year. So I'm completely making a restart. I got quite some curiosity about it. I think inner wisdom is a privilege for everybody to discover, and it made me very curious about this all. And furthermore, I didn't really have a lot expectation. I'm very open to receive about how other people are looking at our lives and everything what is part of that. So that's more or less. I can tell a lot more, but I will make it short. Let me see who has left. I'm not sure actually at the moment.
Stefan, why are you here?
Oh yeah, here. Yeah, but let me pass it on to Stefan.
Thank you everyone. So I'm here because I invited Arno because I love him too, and I'm curious to learn about his wisdom. So I'm hoping to leave in 30 minutes or 45 minutes with some more wisdom that I have now. And I think Arno has a lot.
Don't push it. Okay. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. Nice. Yeah, so we have our weekly men's group, and I was sharing today before this call that I actually decided to not come with a deck or with a PowerPoint deck or so. I think I come back to that why I did that. So I was thinking of cutting it in some pieces. So at the back have like a dialogue and maybe some interaction. I think it's very nice that we are like a smaller group, so it's easier also to interact and ask questions and share. So that's great. And then somewhere in the middle, explaining what what that ancient wisdom in my meaning making is and how I use it in my daily life, both professional as personally. And start off with a bit of a introduction of how did I arrive at that part, bit like that. And I start off with the introduction. So born and raised in the Netherlands, in the south, and studied in Leiden and in Rotterdam. I started off with law, and after 3 months, I asked myself for the first time in my life, actually, is this really what I want? Is this really what I would like to do? And I found it quite shocking to see that was actually the first time in my life that I asked myself a question like that. So in a very authentic way. I think we have a newcomer, right? Is that like, yeah, Agnieszka.
Agnieszka, yeah.
Okay. What's the Stefan? I just continue, right?
Hello,
So,
everyone.
Yeah. Hello, Agnieszka. Welcome.
and in those times, so I switched to international management and a history of Latin America. I don't know why Latin America was like attracting me, but it was. And international business in Rotterdam at Erasmus University. I joined Unilever after university, because in those times I thought, I need to belong to a big Dutch multinational that will give me body, will give me identity, who I am. So the business card that I got was, of course, like big logo Unilever, and and my name was like very small. It was actually a big symbol of how I lived life then, like riding the waves on the back of a dinosaur. I went to London for 2 years, then Madrid, Spain for 2 years, always in commercial functions, and then our first overseas assignment outside of Europe was to Lima, Peru. And that was where I, for the first time, thought, maybe we are not right in everything that we believe in Northwestern Europe. And I could see the finger of my own country to the rest of the world, like, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this, and you should have that in order, and your law should be like that, and economic, and so forth, endless lists. And shame came over me, like, wow. That's with what nerve are we doing that? And I was lucky between brackets to have a boss from India, and I was fascinated with what he did to include organizations that had to come into procedures and standards and had to be included in the corporate world of the company. And somehow he had a kind of directness, harshness over him, but people didn't react to it as such. And I got fascinated about that, like a sponge as behind him, and learning years later, I learned that actually was firmness, what we call firmness, without falling out of humility. I got married with a Peruvian lady with whom I have a beautiful daughter, Natalia, 20 years old, who's living here with us. And back to the Netherlands around like the year of 2000, switched industries to pharmaceutical industry, which was basically a way out again, because my by then Peruvian wife couldn't get used to the country because of the climate, because of how direct we are in the Netherlands, rude, pretty blunt often. That's at least often the perception that I started to learn to perceive from others, how our culture was. So I learned a lot about not only organizational cultures, but also national cultures and how they blend into our organizations and blend out again into the countries where we're living or working or not living. and came back to Latin America in 2003. Lived for 12 years in Chile, in the south of this continent. But after 2 years in those 12 years, I just couldn't stand my own face anymore in a mirror of what I was doing. I was pushing medicine that I actually didn't believe in, like antidepressives and hormones and all that kind of stuff. And my background is actually more like believing that we can heal ourselves. We make ourselves sick, and of course, it's handy to have temporarily to have antidepressants, but always with the focus on therapy first, and not the other way around, making people dependent and take away their autonomy. And we were earning a shitload of money with that, and it just didn't sit well with me anymore. And I could feel the pain in the organization, in the organization I was working in. And what was the in common factor of all the way from after university to that moment was I tapped into a kind of unknown but very present suffering. These are my words, of course. This is my meaning making. Many people see it differently, but I could tap in to so many conversations, so many meetings that I was present in, and I just could feel people were not telling their truth. People are not speaking what was really on their mind, what was really in their heart. And it was just this puppet theater show, and often I just started giggling in the middle of a meeting, and they would ask me, like, what the hell is going on with you? And I said, this is just all crap, man. I just don't believe you. And I couldn't help myself that I was like, with this Dutch DNA still there, which was not very, very diplomatic and not very tactical. But I was, too young in those times or too immature maybe to see that, and not knowing how to balance it out. And this arrived at a point that one night I just couldn't stand it anymore, and I resigned from corporate life. And this was not like one go. It was a build-up over the years, and I thought, I want to do something. I want to help. I want to support. I want to see if I can make things work in an integrated way. So both coming home with a feeling what I do makes sense, and I feel satisfied about it, and I feel kind of healthy pride with it. What I do makes sense. And building incredible teams that are fast, efficient, resilient, caring for each other, shine out of solidarity. No one leaves the building without checking why there is still a light on somewhere on that floor at 9:00 p.m. Say, hey, do you need help? Instead of like, okay, my job's done. See you tomorrow. Bye. So that caring, that resilience, that ongoing feedback loop, not because you have to accomplish once or twice a year with the evaluation system, that I saw everybody panicking 2 weeks before, oh shit, I have to do my feedback rounds. No, but every day out of the meeting, how do you think it go? How did you think it went? How do you think, how do you feel about that? Or, you know what, the meeting yesterday, what you said affected me, and can we have a cup of coffee? Straight out throughout the whole year, feedback system all the time in place, because people care, not because the system tells us so. And having incredible results, like really skyrocketing through the roof, high financial performance. Those three at the same time. That was my wish, and I thought it would be possible. So that started off in 2006 all the way down to here. And my conviction was that was possible to do, but start off with self dimension. And the name of our company has everything to do with that. Parrhesian comes from the word Parrhesia. Parrhesia is a Greek concept. I go now to the second part that I just announced. So what does it mean and how does it manifest? So it was present in Greek parliament from 500 years before Christ to 500 years after Christ, more or less 1,000 years. It means to speak your truth from your heart with courage, with firmness, without losing humility, in service of the greater good, without finger pointing, without raising your voice, without blaming, and speak about what things mean to you when something happens that you don't like. And maybe you have noticed when the current Pope took over, Pope Francis, that he has a very different style, right? He has a very different way of going about things. So he's breaking paradigms by breaking symbolism and changing them. And he was often teased and still by the press to say something about someone, right? Or to say something, an opinion about a government or a state, or don't you think that your Argentinian government should be in prison because of, well, and his answer would always be like, when I look at my country, it hurts me. Instead of, yes, she should be in prison because of stealing pension funds. That's also an aspect of Parrhesia, talking about self, what it does to you, and own your own meaning making. What it does is it doesn't threat the other person. It doesn't trigger ego of someone else. I am exposed to this now since 2006, and I'm still struggling how to do this in my personal life and my professional life. So where does it start? Where does it end? This is a Socratic principle. So Socrates and Plato were writing about this. And if you want to, here's a nice book that I would like to recommend to you to read. It's a bit dense. It's Michel Foucault, The Courage of Truth. This Frenchman has investigated and researched a lot about Plato and Socrates, about the Socratic principles. And so I thought, wow, this could be a way out, between brackets. No? This could be a way out for corporate life to ease the pain and to reduce suffering and to make those three dimensions click into each other. So the I and the self dimension and the we dimension of the teams and high performance all together. So I and we dimension being the how, and the it dimension actually being the what. So actually it's an outcome. In some companies are already doing it by nature or because they are consciously choosing for it. Patagonia is an example of them. Maybe you know the company Patagonia. So they're very consciously working in this way. And over time, I started to work into coaching and then leadership development, and from leadership development, the leader with his team or her, and then the alignment of that team with their teams. And then before I knew it, I was like in the cultural transformation of an organization. But the main driver is this DNA of how do I speak my truth? How do I know if I am speaking my truth? I'm not speaking to the global truth, like the truth for everyone, but your own truth, my own truth, what's in me. And for that, going through this book, I came to see 1.5 to 2 years ago that Parrhesia as a Socratic principle is not enough. That at least that's what I understood of what Socrates and Plato were writing about between them, because their conversation was, in a summarized way, how can we expect of someone speaking his or her truth if he or she doesn't know himself sufficiently? Wow, I thought, wow, sufficiently. Okay, so there's a ranking, like what's sufficient then? Like where does it start? Where does it end? I mean, yeah. So And I thought, but it makes sense. And they introduce this second Socratic principle, which is called Epimeleia. And Epimeleia means know thyself with the constant, consistent willingness to look at yourself every day with autopsy of examining your own life. Who do I want to be? And maybe you have over time lost people that were important to you, maybe your parents or other relatives. I just lost my mom in November and my father the year before, and it has made me shift even more into that question. How do I know myself? How do I get to know myself more and more? And the question that I want to bring to the table, not to answer here, but to take away, is a question that helped me a lot and I use for my coachees. So the moment that we die, the moment, just that second before we let go of life going out of our body, and we have that beautiful moment of the opportunity of meeting the person you could have become, but you're actually not. That meeting of a nanosecond, my thriving drive is to make sure that they are the same. Mm-hmm. So I import back from the future to my days. What does that mean in my time dedication to whom I want to spend time with which clients I want to work or not, how I want to work, how I want to show up. And at the end of the day, a checkout of how did I do today as with regards to the comparison of that moment that I am actually on the road of becoming the man I could have become. Am I making that gap smaller or am I actually getting off track? And sometimes I do get off track. Sometimes I do regret at the end of the day, like shit, you know, I should have said that. Or I should not have said that. It's not that much about the judgment for myself, but more about how do I know myself? So that's the first element of Epimeleia. The second, so know thyself, and the willingness to chase that goal down every day, every hour, every second. And two, love yourself unconditionally from their take care of self, not from egotism or selfishness, but really unconditionally loving self and including the shadows that we all have as a gift and find that gift. And four, apply to self. So it's not enough to keep it just in your mind. It's our moral obligation, in my view, to apply it in our lives. As a son, as a daughter, as a brother, as a sister, as a father, as a mother, as husband, as wife, partner, as professional, everywhere. And I don't think that will ever stop. Now, where I'm now in my life, I bring these two concepts together under a new concept. So how do I speak my truth? By knowing myself, and vice versa. And I think that where we are now, after the last 12, 13, 14 months, we have all been pushed in a river. And I see many people behaving like, looking around like, who the hell pushed me? Who was that? Because it's now all about swimming. We all need to swim. And that swimming metaphor for me is like a test. What's our capacity to self-regulate ourselves? Because I believe that to see, and this is just my view, this is not my intention to bring this across as the absolute truth, but we come from decades of extreme radical training of regulate others and regulate other situations. We live in a world that consists of targets, of outcomes. I want to have people behave in a certain way as I want. But when it comes down to my own regulation, how am I taking care of myself? How am I breathing throughout the day? How much time do I actually spend with my daughter? Am I actually walking my talk or not? What are actually my values, and what does it mean in my associated behavior every day? And is there a difference with the neighbor or with my children or with my partner? Am I more willing to speak my truth with that person, with that kind of people, or with this kind of tongues? And why the hell would there be a difference at all? And that's where I believe we tap into fear and the illusion of fear, or the reality of fear. So when you go out of your house right now and there's a truck that comes by, and you decide, do I cross before the truck or not? That's a real fear, an example of real fear. And ego will work its ass off to see how to protect yourself. But an illusional fear is that I make up things. When I go out at night, it's always dangerous and they will rob me. That's not a real fear, that's an illusional fear. So what I've learned over the last 13 months is how to be present with myself in a different way and concentrate more on self-regulation. And from there, connect to what is my real fear. And when I work with coaches, what is his or her real fear, and what's illusional, what can be driven out, and how are you now showing up as a leader from that experience? To close off this second part is I see life through two lenses of fear. One is fear as a threefold fear: the fear of wanting to control behavior or results outside of my body. The second I see, and we also work with, is measuring the fear of being recognized or not being recognized. Am I seen? Am I heard? Am I acknowledged? So the fear of not belonging, from a relational fear. And then the third is the fear of not being good enough, like self-esteem, like who am I? I'm not being good enough. And are these actually my own voices, or are these voices that I have stolen from my parents or from my grandparents or from partners or ex-partners who have always told me about this? And have I actually become a thief? And I stole problems that were never mine, and now I pretend that they're mine. And on top of it, I'm not good enough as an outcome. So that's one lens. And the other lens that has helped me a lot to blend with this ancient wisdom, which seems so simple, as these Greek parliamentarians were really willing to give their life, literally, to keep their word. This is the stand I take. This is what matters to me. And I'm willing to die for it. Actually, it's how Socrates died, because he wasn't willing to give in, and he took the poison, knowing that he would die. So I believe that we have lost that in our time, and I'm not that much willing to recover it for myself either. But I believe in these times of being pushed into ourselves, with lockdowns or not, into which levels or not, the trust we have in economy and economic systems has fallen to zero. The trust we have in political systems and politicians has been heavily decreased, to say the least. And the trust we have in religious systems also has declined a lot. So the last standing wall we have is our value basket. So my calling out is to knock the door of that ancient wisdom that Socrates gave his life for, to receive it and feel the responsibility, what it means for us on our own chest to show up as the person you could become. and take it forward to these modern times, because on the one hand, it's very simple. On the other hand, it's very complex because fear is coming up. The filter I invite you to use is to ask yourself, is this actually real fear to speak up my truth, what I think now? Is it real, or is it an illusion that's being built up with the speed of light by my own ego in that very moment, be it in a personal situation, be it in a professional situation? And that has been quite a journey so far, very liberating. It has pushed me to be more gentle with myself and more compassionate, to forgive myself for decisions that I took in my life that were actually illusional, fear-based, not real, fear-based. And to go to those moments and see, okay, what was good about it and what can I learn from it still? And what does it mean for us here right now in this situation where there is so much limitation? What's the opportunity for me to skyrocket my own growth? I'm thinking if there's anything missing. I think I would like to leave it here and pause and use the time we have left together to share and listen to each other. And how does this land for you? How does this show up for you? How would you like to show up differently? How do you connect to this? Was there any shift? Or anything else that's relevant for you that I'm not mentioning? I mean, don't feel limited to share within these questions. I mean, I'm happy to take questions, and I'm sure I don't have all the answers. Yeah, so press pause here. We have 2 people that are on audio only. I see Manal, and I would, in the spirit of the topic that we are speaking about, I would invite you to activate your camera if that's technologically possible, to say hi. And of course, don't feel obliged doing so either. Hi there, welcome. Hi there. So yeah, zip my mouth here.
So Arno, thank you. Thank you so much. We have Jackie that raised her hand, so she wants to ask a question or share something.
So when you talk about fears and the difference between real and illusionary, am I to understand that anything that's not an actual physical threat is illusionary? Anything that's based on mind, based on thinking?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, to push it to the extreme, I guess.
Oh, no, I love it. I love to yeah. What I do for myself, Jackie, is since 2013, I'm studying the Dzogchen, Tibetan Buddhism principles. And for them, it's very simple, actually. They say, look, the first fear in life is our birth. That's the first moment that we have to fight for our lives. Be it cesarean, be it natural, but it's the first time there is a disconnect with mom, disconnect with feeling warm, feeling cozy, feeling nurtured, to different temperature, physically different temperature often. That's changing in these times, of course, with other ways of giving birth. But okay, let's say that it's, for the sake of the conversation, that's the case. Nurturing changes and love changes. So according to what I understand of the Dzogchen is, from there, we very fast learn that love is conditional. Because then I say, okay, so if I'm hungry, I just shout and yell and I get food. If I want to be loved, I want to be hugged, I yell and I get it. And then I'm 4 years old or 2 years old and I can go to the toilet on my own and my mom is celebrating me because I can do it without my diaper. Ah, okay, so without diaper, I'm getting acknowledged. And then I'm older, and then at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm just so awake. Then I get out of bed and I start playing with my teddy bear or my Playmobil or Lego, and I start singing because I just feel like singing. And both my parents work, so they come in and they say like, well, that's not really the idea of that you start singing at 4 o'clock in the morning. So, and then I sing the same song in the back of the car when my father brings me to the kindergarten at 8:30, and all of a sudden I'm celebrated. So what the hell is that about? So it's the same song. I'm the same person. There I can't, and here I can. So the list of conditions is growing really, really fast in our first years. So we learn to actually calibrate with what's out of me to belong, to feel well, to feel great. So I do think, yes, for me, there is a kind of physicality around it in the end. And then I ask myself, is it because of that fear? And the second fear is the actual fear when we die, according to the doctrine, right? Some have, some not. And then in between those two, there is a fear of broken relationships. So when somebody breaks up with me, or I break up with someone, or somebody dies, it's actually the activation of the first one in the mind. So it's actually all illusional. It's made up by ego. It's a mental construct of the first fight for life. That's my understanding and meaning making. So listening to your question, I think it helps me think to what extent is it actually physical? So I think to a large extent, it's tuning in with the body and understanding what I think right now is that ego that comes from dualism, right, wrong thinking, or is it actually, can I observe my own thoughts from essence? And can I see that I am a soul with a body that has a physical experience? Did I answer your question at all?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Lots of food for thought. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. That it makes me also take it away as like, oh, I'm gonna think a little bit more about that one. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else would like to ask a question or share what the reflections on what's been shared by Arno today? Ruben.
I can't find the raise your hand, but I think Jasper also raised his hand.
Okay, I got
it. Before me, I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Ruben.
First, thank you, Arno, for this great presentation. I like the fact Stefan and Eric mentioned they love you. It started with the word love. And during your presentation, you explained fear, fear, fear. And my question is it the lack of love of ourselves and knowing also what is love about the biggest issue? Because I've had some discussion with friends and I say, that's what's missing. People do not understand love. And the society keeps, as you mentioned, nourishing fear in different way. COVID is like the nicest tool to nourish that fear. So I would like to have your thoughts about this, love and fear. And I feel that, in my view, we're missing that. And I'm trying to share all the love that I have with my, as you mentioned, myself, surroundings, my immediate friends, and it's a challenge because a lot of them live in fear and they don't understand love.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I cannot say anything else than that I strongly resonate with what you say, and I think it's a daily journey. When I scan my body because I start feeling anxious about something, I ask myself, the first thing I ask myself, what is it what I want to change that is out of control? Because that's the first thing that our body does. So the first thing our body does is giving a signal like the mind, hey man, McFly, you're not in control. This is not 100% controllable. And it doesn't always help me to let go, but it helps me to become conscious of that there is apparently a fear. It doesn't have to be fear of death. It can be just anxiety, you know. God, I want to be on time for the bus, or I want to be on time for that favorite TV program, you know. I get anxious, and all of a sudden the doorbell rings, or, you know, all these external things. Can I see the difference between me and not me? And yeah, I think you're right that we lack a lot of love, what it means. And I adore this this Dzogchen I just shared, and the goal of Dzogchen, in my understanding, is to go back to that moment of before getting born, where we were an empty page, and there was no dualism. There was no such thing as comparison. It was already, everything was essence, and that's actually the goal, to go back to that. And can we then bring that essence in our lives today? I think it's impossible, because then we would pretend that ego can be excluded, and it's an instrument that works for us every day to protect us. But what has helped me to love myself a little bit more and more and more, and others, and be more forgiving and more compassionate, is to see that difference, that, oh, this is actually ego at work. This is not me. This is not me that is speaking. This is coming from an ego voice. Okay. And it's okay that ego does that. What I then can do is say to my ego in my inner dialogue is, hey, it's okay. I got it from here. I hear what you say. I hear you. I hear you barking as a kind of Doberman from the back of the car. I hear it. Now, I have it from here, and you cannot touch the dashboard of the car. You can come, but you sit in the back, and you can bark, and you can go totally nuts, but I take the decision with great creativity, right? And it doesn't mean that I'm not scared sometimes, or stop loving myself. But yeah, I think we go in circles here. Sorry.
Thank you, Arno. We have a few minutes left, so Jasba, maybe?
Sure, thank you. Something I was wrestling with recently is this idea of to what degree you share your truth. So as you gain a greater understanding of yourself, and you start pushing that outwards and understanding the world around you, to what degree, what are your thoughts around the extent to which we share that truth? Because there's impact, obviously, there's on the receiving end. So I tend to have been erring more on the conservative side and keeping it a little more internal, but I noticed in some reference to the morality or the obligation to influence. So yeah, shed some ideas or thoughts around that, please. Thank you. And I love your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Hello. Hello. Yes, I'll have to call you. Can you call me back? And
I'm not here, Elizabeth. Wow. I think it will never be safe enough to speak our truth. It will never be safe enough to speak our truth, because there will always be someone who criticizes or has something to say about it. I think it's even less safe to not speak up. I think we make ourselves sick over time by withholding what's true in my heart. And I think we need to pay the price that we don't know how to do it in a perfectly skillful way without hurting other people, because that's not our problem. But we make it our problem because we want to be liked. Just go to Facebook. It's one big self-promotion show, right? And it takes our self-esteem away, I believe. And I'm not perfectly in it either. Sometimes I go to bed and I think, for fuck, I should have said that and that, or I should not have said it, or I should have said it in that and that way. And I think that's the training, and that's the Parrhesia part. How can I speak my truth by sharing what it does to me? What I just heard you say affects me. It makes me feel angry, or it makes me feel sad, and I don't know how to own it. So I need time. Instead of, hey man, what you just said, that really sucks. Because with that, we attack the other person. And you will activate ego of the other person, and it will be 2 monologues before you know it, and there will be no dialogue and real sharing. Does it make sense?
Yes, that helps. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arno. Maybe one last question, Dominic, or last comment?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. You have no idea how much I feel that I am not alone, because I've been looking to speaking my truth in the last few jobs that I had. I was in corporate before and different businesses, and then a few years ago I decided to change completely, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go work with the elderly in the elderly business. And all these people, they are so good, they take good care of the elderly, and it's gonna be so different. And boy, was I wrong. And what I saw there, like making money on their back and cost, and food disgusting and no care, and I was like shocked, and I left, but I didn't speak my truth. And it almost made me sick, because every day since I left, I regret not to have spoken my truth. And the reason I didn't is that, I thought, oh, this is a small world, and maybe one day I will need reference. I don't want to be in, I don't want them to think bad, But as you said, sometimes, the cost and what I will learn is, all the quest on how to speak my truth in a, what is the right way to speak my truth. But definitely, always being liked and please everybody, and for me, that's almost make me sick. And I'm kind of, I was stuck really. But now, recently, and now the more I listen to these kinds of discussion, I have hope. I have hope that, myself, I can maybe change something and then make a change. So, and the other part is when you say know yourself, I mean, I don't know myself, and I'm not even sure that one day I will ever know myself, though. It's really, really scary to hear that, know yourself. What? So I don't even know where to start, but I will start somewhere. And the other thing is love yourself. There's so many things I don't love about myself, and I think I'm afraid that people will see that the things I don't like. I don't want any other people to know those things because they will not like me. So anyway, your whole discussion, your whole sharing is, it's a really big gift. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dominique.
Welcome.
Very grateful.
You're most welcome, Dominique. Just a quick response to what came to me listening to you is, you said twice, it made me almost sick.
Sick, yes.
Your body, our body never lies. Our body is pure. Our mind can tell us lies about ourselves, about others, but our body never lies. So sickness is actually a gift of rebalancing and calling back, whistling back the mind. So when you get sick and you vomit things out, it's maybe somewhere to start. When you said, I don't know where to start to get to know myself, is to give back, to vomit out, to give back what was never yours. Yeah. So the beliefs about yourself, were there actually your beliefs when you got born about yourself? You got this set of beliefs, this software. It's like, oh, when I was born and then that date, this was the disc was given to me about myself. No, that came later. So in my experience, what has helped me a lot is to actually start investigating my limiting beliefs about myself and then check, where did I pick them up? Who was that? Was it my father, my mother? I had a math teacher who said, Arno, you suck with numbers, man. 3 years, bad marks, until there was a guy who said, Arno, you come. And all of a sudden I had great marks. So that was one of the first time I learned, like, hold on. But the other guy said something else. So that's what I mean in a funny way. Be careful with what we steal and make ours, which is actually was never ours. So we walk around with a backpack in life full with limiting beliefs that will make us feel like part of something, but pushes us into radical loneliness without noticing. And then all of a sudden, this person has cancer. Hey, how is that possible? Yeah, he's been ignoring his truth for years. One of the indicators of cancer, one of the 11 of what people have in common getting cancer, is pleasing other people. All the time, pleasing and complacency. Pleasing, saying yes when you actually mean no. Shall we go to the movies? Yeah, why not? Well, actually, I don't really, when I tune into that question, I want to sit on the couch with chips and watch a movie myself on my own. Go away. Oh, but then before we know, we sit in the movies and I think, and next day we feel like, and then we go on with life. But how many times do I do that? Maybe that's a start, to listen to your body.
Thank you. Thanks.
So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Arno, for sharing this so masterfully. Thank you to all of you for attending. I would like to invite you to another webinar. I'll send you the invite in a message this afternoon with another colleague of ours, Arno and I, in our men's circle, Graham Massey, who's British, who lives in Hungary. And the team is going to be winning, losing, and leading on purpose. So that's going to be on March 3rd at noon. So I'll send you guys the invite for that. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you for sharing, Arno and everyone, your thoughts and questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.